Okay, dear student, good morning. First of all, my well wishes to those students who have appeared in the main exam 2021, particularly in the paper of history. My students, you already know the fact, in the exam, there are the three different worlds. One world is the world of preparation, another is the world of coaching institute, and the third world is the world of exam hall. You people have just faced the world of exam hall. I can very well measure the extent of pressure, the extent of your struggle with the questions in the exam hall. But I am having the confidence, particularly for my students, because I have taught you through some specific method. And whenever I observed question, I took a sigh of relief for the fact the question is on the same pattern. Certain questions you can just receive in the direct manner. Certain questions means you can here cite the example of the Khalji Revolution under Alauddin Khalji. You can directly take 4 to 5 points and you can reproduce in the answer. Then different stages of feudalism. Even here you can use the data in the very direct manner. But it is equally true that such fortunate condition does not appear in case of all the questions. But whenever you are observing the question paper, you will come to realize that the questions are so varied, so inferential in nature, that sometimes even bookish knowledge appears to be useless. So it is due to the fact I have always suggested my students, although it is our compulsion to move through the book and to earn the knowledge with the support of the book, but our ultimate goal should be to rise above the book, to go beyond the limits of the book, and to be a thinking creature. I will discuss a lot of questions. You will come to realize that the UPSC is having the habit of complicating the simple thing whenever a question setter has to formulate some question. The same simple question can be formulated in the manner as if it can create some sort of confusion. And most of the students may fail even in explaining the question, what is the exact demand of the question. So this is the specialty of the question setter in UPSC. I will come to this point also. First of all, we have to give focus over the map question. Just observe the map and try to find out whether the map question this year has disappointed you, or the map question has enthused or made you more enthusiastic. I can realize that this map question may disappoint some of you, but some other of you may be a bit more enthusiastic after observing the map question, because it is having one strength and another constraint. A strength is that the sites represented on the map are within the limit of your knowledge. If you will compare the same paper with the paper of previous year, you will come to realize that the previous year, many sites they have placed on the map, so they were beyond the comprehension of the knowledge, beyond the comprehension of the students. So this is the one plus point, a strength point. The sites are within your reach, you can find out. The constant point is that in the previous year, the question setter has placed the outlines of the modern states. So as the boundary of the modern state is clear, so students were slightly more comfortable. This year, once again, they have restored the old map, means ki without modern state. But it hardly matters because I have given 2 to 3 formulas on map work to you, and that is so much effective. What type of the question on map the question setter may present that will never pose difficulty to you or never create difficulty for you. Here the example. Develop the habit of dividing the map on the basis of blocks. So just make the blocks, draw the certain lines. I have myself has devised the new method of drawing the lines. You can imitate the same method. Forget about the modern states for time being. Even on the basis of these blocks, you can find out the site. That is a better substitute. Now, for your information, you can do the additional work. On one of the plain maps, even you can just draw the modern states so that at least in your mind map, you can recall the boundary of the modern state. Whenever you are doing the map work, suppose you can say on Karnataka and Maharashtra. Sometimes you find difficulty. What is the boundary? So at least you have drawn some modern states on the map. You can just surmise, yes, this is the boundary of Maharashtra and Karnataka, Andhra and Tamil Nadu, Andhra and Karnataka. So in this way, the things would be slightly more comfortable. But once again, my student, I am just reminding you the specific instructions I have already given to on the question of map, and I have myself prepared a whole book on the map, which is today available to you people. Actually, the question of maps should be dealt with differently, in different manner. The traditional, the conventional method will not work in the today's exam hall. Because you know, earlier suppose 20 places or 20 sites were just placed in the paper of map. The students try to recall the site and their 100% energy was being invested in finding out the sites, collecting the sites, recollecting the sites, remembering the sites, and digesting the sites. But today, if you will observe the question, you will come to realize that no, even if you will try at your best to find out the site, you will be unable to find out the site simply on the basis of your practice work. You need to have the knowledge about the sites first. Yet the better solution is to try to link the preparation of map work directly with the preparation of the topic. I have given you the very practical suggestion to you. Suppose you are opening a chapter, Vedic period, or Buddha age, or Maurya age, post-Maurya age. So you have already divided the chapter in different parts, as I have suggested you. And you are supposed to underline the changes. For example, political, economic, social, and cultural. In the Vedic period, suppose in Buddha age, so you are just observing Buddha age. So firstly, the political part of Buddha age. So you will definitely, you are compelled here to recall the 16 Mahajanpadas. So whenever you are working on 16 Mahajanpadas, so do the work, map work simultaneously, location wise. So even in your memory, you will find 16 Mahajanpadas. On your map, 16 Mahajanpadas and their headquarters are visible. So both are complementary to each other. Likewise, in economic, you are moving to the second urbanization. So important urban centers and trade centers. So you are just already writing, you are doing the writing work in your notes, the name of the important towns like Shravasti, Kaushambi, Ujjain, etc. So do the map work simultaneously. Likewise on cultural, the rise of Buddhism, Jainism and many other sects. So what is the important religious centers? The centers for astupas in subsequent period, in Maurya period, the important sites for astupas, the Ashokan pillars. Likewise, in post-Maurya period, the important sites for astupas, viharas and chaityas. So it is on this basis, political, economic and cultural. As your chapter is being unfolded, so he unfolded your knowledge of map. The map, your knowledge of map will help you in recollecting the ideas and examples in the examination hall in course of writing your question paper. Likewise, your knowledge of the question paper and the knowledge of the sites is going to help you while you are doing the map work. So both are complementary to each other, and please once again take it very seriously. The map work should not be separated from your overall preparation. Otherwise, you may lose the map question there. Here I can give you the concrete example, just 1 minute. Concrete example is that simply on the basis of recollecting the name of the site or recollecting or remembering the location of the site, I will not find out the name of the certain places. Here example, this is the place in Afghanistan. In the place Afghanistan, this place is Bagram. But UPSC, particularly this year, although always, but this year, UPSC appears to be a bit lax while plotting the sites. For the first time this year, I have come to realize that we people are much serious about the map work, but UPSC is not equally serious. So UPSC is simply plotting the map without taking care of the fact that students have done the practice work, and there may be some sort of difference in the students' plotting and the plotted place of the question paper, and it may create confusion for the students. UPSC hardly bothers about that. So here you people have to be conscious, and it is on the basis of memory try to find out the place. Here the example is that Bagram is not the exact location, but as they have given the term ivory hoard. Ivory hoard means कि in Hindi you can say कि हाथी दांत का जखीरा. So whenever they use the term हाथी दांत का जखीरा, so I just try to recall which one place can be characterized as the हाथी दांत का जखीरा or ivory hoard. So suddenly idea came to my mind, Bagram, right from the Kushana period onwards. So it is on the basis of memory you can select this place. Here another interesting example I am giving. This is Indus. This is an Indus place. Point number 5. They have mentioned here point number 5. Here you find Harappan site. Now question arises that so far the students are informed about the fact that Harappan site is simply, you can say, lies up to Jammu, not beyond that. Jammu Manda is supposed to be the northern outskirt of Harappan civilization, and beyond Mandu we cannot imagine another Harappan site. Yes, so far as the question of an outpost is concerned, you can cite the example of 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬 in Afghanistan. 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬. But it was an outpost exclusively famous for the trade in lapis lazuli. That was not proper Harappan site. But anyhow, if the same site could have been at 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬, I may take it just as some slip in writing. But what about this place? This is situated in Muzaffarabad region of POK. And we are not having any information on any place in this area. So here the compulsion before the student is better to specify this place as Manda. No other way. In Kashmir there is no place, so Manda is Jammu is the northern outskirt. I think is the only solution. Likewise, this is Atirampakakkam and Paleolithic site. But just Pallavaram is situated in nearby region. So sometimes it can create confusion whether we have to specify the name of Pallavaram or Atirampakakkam. The better solution is to mention about both the sites simultaneously. So in this way, now I am just helping you to locating the sites, and to my best of my knowledge, most of the question should be correct. But as UPSC itself lacks in plotting the place of some time what was going on in the mind of the question setter, it is very difficult to trace out. So there may be some, you can say, confusion due to the different location of the place, but to best of my knowledge, I have tried to find out a correct answer. So just move towards one by one to question. First Paleolithic site, Athiramapakkakkam. Athiramapakkakkam, this is the 60 kilometer of Chennai, or if you will find Pallavaram. So Pallavaram was in Kanchipuram and slightly south of this place, thora south niche. And the second one, Mesolithic. In Mesolithic, it has created some confusion because here this is Ratanpura. But here you will come to know that just near Ratanpura you will find other places like Loteshwara. Apart from Loteshwara, one more place is Langnaj. Langnaj is also situated in nearby region. So it may create confusion. But this is Ratanpura. Ratanpura means through confirmed, and Ratanpura is situated in Patan district. This is the location of Patan district, Gujarat. While you find Loteshwar is slightly north, in north direction, slightly north of this site, and Langnaj is slightly south. So Loteshwar in Patan district, but this is not equally. Loteshwar is also Patan district, but Langnaj is slightly different. But my student, it is very difficult for you in the examination hall to do this sort of micromanagement to make a distinction among different sites. So there my suggestion is that if you are confused that this site should be selected or that, so better to, in your knowledge or in your view, which site appears to be more authentic. So first give its name and then just mention that in nearby region in this region these sites are also available, and in this way you can mention the thing, because the sites should be Mesolithic and all the three sites are Mesolithic. You can give a hint towards other sites as well. Now next one, Neolithic, Chalcolithic in northwest. Although the site of northwest is not very appropriate for this term Neolithic, Chalcolithic, but here the question setter has given the term because you will find even Upinder Singh has mentioned that in the northwest most of the sites have just come directly to Chalcolithic, and from Neolithic to Chalcolithic, most of the from Neolithic to Chalcolithic. So it is very difficult to find out as the one site, but this site is very obvious and very famous, so no difficulty you will find here, and the site is Mehrgarh. So better to select here the site that is Mehrgarh in Balochistan and near Bolan Pass. Then you come to next one site, that is proto-historic and historic site. So proto-historic and historic site, the sixth, to best of my knowledge, this site should be, that is here Kangra, and there is possibly an old city, that is Trigarta kingdom, not city, sorry, kingdom. So Trigarta kingdom, and Trigarta kingdom is the quite, you can say, we people are completely oblivious of this Trigarta kingdom. This Trigarta kingdom has been mentioned in Mahabharata text. So this is the example of Trigarta kingdom. Now inscriptional site. Seventh number is inscriptional site. So just observe here inscriptional sites. This one. You find that post-Maurya period is exclusively known for the multiplicity of sites and the multiplicity of inscriptions, because so many dynasties have issued the inscriptions. You can find here the example Shatvahana dynasty, Gautami Balashiri, Vasishtha Pulumai, Shaka dynasty, Rudradaman, Kushana dynasty, Kanishka, his successors. Then you are coming to even Chedi dynasty, and that is Kharvela. In South India also some inscriptions. But there is Shunga dynasty. In Shunga dynasty, there is Dhandeva, a ruler from dynasty of Pushmit Shunga, and he issued an inscription that is Ayodhya inscription. And here you cannot find any other inscription, so there is no confusion. If in nearby region there could have been the next one inscription, so it creates confusion, particularly for the fact UPSC itself not very serious about the exact location of the place. So in the nearby region there is another inscription, it may create confusion, but here no confusion at all, and that is Ayodhya inscription of Dhandeva. Then comes the turn of point number 8, Jain Vihara. Just 1 minute. Here you find a term that is Jain Vihara site. Jain Vihara site, you know. So there is no confusion. This one, find here. This is near Sispalgarh in Odisha. In Odisha, someone is going to ask you, okay, just if Buddhist Vihara they are asking, it may create some confusion. But in Jain Vihara, the single one, that is Udayagiri Khandagiri, the contribution of Chedi dynasty, Kharvela. Kharvela is given the credit to have hewn out this Udayagiri Khandagiri cave. So in this way. And next one, Quine Horde, 9th. Up here you can say 9th, that is 9th, yes, this one. Up in Quine Horde, if someone is going to ask, and if someone will make a claim on the basis of the plotting and practice, I have found out, no, this is not convincing to me. Because here Quine Horde, how can you find out the Quine Horde? Someone is going to ask you, this is Mathura. Where is Mathura located? Vidisha located. Then you can work on the location. But they are not asking about the name of the place. They are asking about the feature of the place, the nature of the place, the specific identification of the place, whether a town, whether a religious town, same place. Suppose Ujjain. Some year they can place Ujjain as a political center. You will try to recall, starting from 6th century BC, then comes the turn of Maurya. Even in Maurya time it was capital. Then post Maurya time, it has been capital under Shakas, and then you are coming to Guptas. So under Guptas, Ujjain remained to be, you can say, an important center, and particularly cultural center as well, because Mahakala temple you might have heard about. Now suppose next year they will ask, give the same location but change the name, cultural site. Then what will you do? You will just move towards Mahakala temple. So nature of map work has completely been changed. The students has to made a trust with the new method. And this new method is not visible this year. Since the last 3 to 4 years. Previous year, I have come to the Eureka moment whenever I find out the solution and appear before the student with my solution. And this is the only solution according to best of my knowledge, and even you people can work on this solution. Ab Quine Horde, on the basis of memory, we have come to realize Bayana, that is near Bharatpur, Gupta Horde, and whenever you are just moving to Bayana, so this is Bharatpur district in Rajasthan. Then comes the turn of next one, 10th, a Paleolithic site. Now, these Paleolithic sites here appear to be Hunsigi, and that was situated in Karnataka district, you know, and Yadgir district of Karnataka state. Then comes the position 11th. In 11th, you find terracotta site. It is a very confusing question. It is for the fact, because in Bengal you will find that terracotta work is the very significant work, and terracotta work is visible even as with decorative purpose, and even in temple construction, terracotta. Surprisingly, in Bengal you can find even a temple made of terracotta. And there is more than one place. So it has created a confusion. For the safety reason, I have mentioned more than one place. That is, you know, the most close choice is Chandraketugharh, but for safety reason, better to give a hint towards Hugli, Harinagar, Harinarayanpur, etc. also. But Chandraketugharh in 24 Pargana, Chandraketugharh is the better choice. Then comes the turn of 12th. 12th is rock cut caves. I mean, rock cut caves really at the first site, my mind is rushing towards another site. And that site is Bagh, but not. On district wise, you will try to find out. You will find कि Bagh was situated in the Dhar district, जो southwest region of MP मध्य प्रदेश है, और here is Bhimbetka is situated in Raisen district. So this is also, Bhimbetka is also rock cut caves, and Bhimbetka is here the better choice, Bhimbetka. Then at the point number 13th, here no confusion at all, because only education center in Gujarat, and that is Vallabhi. Then what problem? Then comes the turn of 14th. In 14th, just try to find out the political and cultural center. It has created some confusion in 14th. Political and cultural centers, that is 14th. And this is in Chhattisgarh, the region here you find Lakshman temple, that is in Sirpur. So Sirpur is here the better choice. That is political and cultural center. Then comes the turn of 15th. 15th, this has created a lot of confusion, my student. I can clearly making an admission of the fact that this has created a lot of confusion, because they have given the Buddhist site the name, and all the Buddhist sites, they are either lying in Nepal or in eastern Bihar, northeastern Bihar. So now question arises in UP, Bihar and Nepal. So in eastern UP, Bihar and Nepal, they are the better and the fertile region for the Buddhist monasteries, the Buddhist sites, the Buddhist, you can say, pilgrimage centers. So neglecting all the part of eastern Bihar, western Bihar, northern Bihar, eastern UP, northern Bihar, eastern UP and Nepal, they have directly moved towards this northwestern part of UP. So this has created a lot of confusion, but I have come to this conclusion that better choice is Ahitchhatra. And Ahitchhatra is the better choice. It is due to the fact that is the 15th number site. Finally, Hwensang, as Hwensang has given the description, that description should not be right and correct. Description should be a bit, and description should be maybe some sort of exaggeration. But Hwensang has given the description that Buddha, in fact, Buddha gave his sermon to a king of Naga dynasty, and his whole process of sermon had continued at least for 7 days. So as it was associated with the preachings given by Buddha to a king of Naga dynasty, preachings, so that is sermon. So that's why this site Ahitchhatra can be preferred. Then comes the turn of 16th. In 16th, ancient port, here no confusion, that is lying in Gujarat, Bharuch, you can say. 17th, you come to know that is 17th early historical site. So in early historical site, again no confusion, that is Madurai. And then in 18th, they have just used the term Ivory Hoard. So on the basis of memory, you can find out in Afghanistan background. And 19th, Buddhist Monastic Center. That is lying in Bengal. So Bengal, more than one Buddhist monastic center. But much important is, that is Sompura. Sompura was a educational center as well. And it was, it originated and it was patronized by Pala dynasty. So Sompura is the better choice. And here you will come to know that is situated in presently Paharpur in Bangladesh. And in 20th, 20th. So in 20th, now directly here coming to, so this is lying in Uttarakhand and Rudraprayag district, and better choice is Kedarnath temple. So my student, to best of my knowledge, I have tried to answer the questions. There may be some sort of laxity due to the laxity of UPSC itself about the location, but still you may bank on the answer. There may be, if slightly here and there, so 1 and 2 questions, otherwise not. because it is a specialty of UPSC. UPSC always just try to create some sort of confusion, but this is the very different type of confusion that is not being expected, particularly about the location of Harappan site, etc., and almost all the sites. Even based off, if you will just inquire from me and ask me, so even on Udaygiri and Khandgiri, there is some difficulty, and most of the places they appears to be slightly, slightly distinct from its actual location, but no problem at all. So now we are moving to the question paper and try to discuss the question. At least we have to find out the trends. Most of the questions are inferential, and not through bookish knowledge you can solve the question, through understanding. So we are moving to the question. Do you agree that ecological factors influence the flow and ebb of the Harappan civilization? Comment. Flow and ebb of Harappan civilization. So my students, on Harappan civilization you may have studied a lot of things, no problem at all. But your success lies in the fact in what way you are responding to the question, a specific question which is expected from you to be answered. Here we have to talk about nothing. Simply it is asking in what way the ecological factors may have played the role in the rise and decline of Harappan civilization. This is the demand of the question. So my students, you can start the answer in this manner. Recently, in the study of Harappan civilization, a new dimension has been added. A new dimension has been added, a new dimension has been added, i.e. ecological context, or you can say ecological factor, as a factor of change. Normally the student hesitates. Some student even posed a question to me, कि sir, is it wise to give the name of historians? It appears as if the name of historian is a holy cow that should not be encroached and contravened. My student, it hardly matters. If you are giving the name of historian, that is the good thing. That is lending some sort of credibility to your answer. Just think. You are not taking the name of historian. You are not citing the name of historian. Rather, you are just borrowing the idea from him. So this is some sort of plagiarism. Normally, the students in UPSC are not citing the name of historian only for the fact that it needs deep knowledge, and students are normally at the level of students. It is difficult to express such a deep knowledge. So you are just avoiding the name of historian. But here you can now cite the name of historians. The historians like up here you can give the name D.P. Agarwal and Fair Service have added this dimension to the study of Harappan civilization. Then with the change of paragraph, in the rise, one line more, then change. So today in the rise and decline both of Harappan civilization, the ecological factor has come to be viewed seriously. Now you can change the paragraph. You can start. An urban civilization might have emerged in the northwest region. So one of the major factor appears to be the ecological factor itself, because the region is marked by the less scant rainfall. So here you find there is the sparsely and there is the sparse forestation, or you can say forestation is very sparse. It is relatively easy to clear the forest with the support of copper and bronze elements, or the copper or bronze tools, and it could have been cleared. The forest could be cleared easily, which is not possible either in upper Gangetic basin or the middle Gangetic basin. Second one factor was possibly the area was noted for the area was known for salt water. That is, here the groundwater was the salt water. So due to the salt water, the people could not use the underground water, so that preferred to move to the riverside compulsorily. And this settlement in the riverside gave added benefit. This benefit was in the riverside, the alluvial soil was available in abundance, and that can improve the cultivation and led to the agrarian surplus. Second one factor, in the riverside, there was the better facility for transportation and cheap transportation. So the different sites could have been linked through the river path and the river route. So this phenomena led to the development of trade and commerce as well. So in this way, initially the ecological factor gave support to the rise of the civilization. Likewise, whenever you discuss about the decline of the civilization, how can you ignore the fact that normally decline means the decomposition of the urban site or desertation of the urban site. It means that the people deserted the urban site and migrated to other regions. It was due to ecological factor, because due to the dearth of water or the lack of water, a specific area became unlivable. So people were not having any option but to migrate to other regions. So in this way, you can mention both the factors, so your question would be answered. Now we are moving to other question. Do you consider that the Upanishadic principles embody the high point of Vedic religious thought? Do you consider that the Upanishadic principles embody the high point of Vedic religious thought? Just observe this question. I have told you that questions are normally two types, the hypothetical and argumentative question. So in argumentative question, or normally the question itself is giving a direction to the answer. Suppose if someone is going to ask you, okay, does Ram go to Patna? So the natural reaction and the natural response is that Ram does not go to Patna. So if there is the question, do you consider? So the natural answer is no. But in 10% cases, you are compelled to say yes, because this is the exceptional case. Means that every argumentative question does not demand from you that you have to make a point of difference and make the point of, you can say, rejection about the specific statement. Rather, you can say, be rational, and particularly as the Upanishadic philosophy should have been taken as the logical evolution from Vedic philosophy or the Vedic religion. It could not be separated from Vedic religion. Here you can very well cite the example. It is how can you, in this question, principles body of high point of Vedic religious thought. So you can here make this point in this way. Upanishadic philosophy appears to be a logical evolution of ideas from Vedas. Ideas from Vedas. This is the beginning. Once it has started, Vedas. Vedas. Going through Vedic literature, we can underline Vedic literature. We can underline a gradual change in philosophical ideas i.e. polytheism, 𝐾𝐤𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐼sm, monotheism or monism. Monotheism and monism. So in this way you have to move in this direction. Polytheism means the worship of many gods. 𝐾𝐤𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐼sm means to take every god as the superior god alternatively. To take every god as a superior god alternatively. Sometime this god, sometime that god. And its logical culmination is monotheism or monism. So you will talk about even Rig Vedic. In Rig Veda, you will find some elements of monotheism. कि एक ही सद्र विप्र बहुधा वदंती. Truth is one, but the scholars give it the different name. Then the second one you will come to realize there is the term like the Agni is one or more than one, more in one or one in more. So even you find in the Sukta of Agni, you can here trace the elements of monotheism. So logically you can say that gradually this is just moving to this side, and then you will come to realize. Then Aranyakas, Tapas, after Tapas, Upanishadas, the complete monism means ki Brahm and soul. So in this way you can move in this question. But if you are much serious about this mark of interrogation and argumentative, the high point of Vedic religious thought, do you consider that the Upanishadic principles of embody the high point of Vedic religious thought? So, although the direction of the question is argumentative in nature, but I don't think here you should make a point of difference. No, this is not the high point, rather it is a different point. So I think it is a logical combination, better to reflect it. Question third, analyze the significance of external influences and indigenous developments on postmodern art. So, just observe this question. After observing this question, you will come to realize in the postmodern art, normally on the modern art, there is some controversy. Was it the replica of the foreign ideas, or did it represent the indigenous ideas? In postmodern art, there is not such a controversy. It was basically indigenous in nature, particularly Astupas, Biharas, and Chaityas. During Maurya period, there started, cave architecture. Cave architecture means Kinbaravar cave and Nagarjuna cave. And it is from cave architecture at least two important genres of art evolved. One is Chaityas and another is Biharas. As for Astupas, the Astupa construction has already started during Maurya period, and it was the natural evolution from Maurya period to post-Maurya, means the evolution of Astupa. But so far as the question of plastic art is concerned, so far as the question of the, the school of or the style of sculpture is concerned, so as the three sculptural school, particularly in Gandhara school, you find it represented the syncretic culture, some sort of cultural fusion, the three important cultures from Indo-Greek and Roman culture to Central Asian and then even Indian. So here on Gandhara art, you can trace the influence as Gandhara art was having some imprint over the Mathura school of art and Amravati school of art as well. So at least on the three different schools of art, you can trace here the elements of some foreign elements. Otherwise, the art is indigenous in nature. In light the significance of external influences and indigenous developments on post-Maurya art, so mention about Chaityas, Vihara and Astupas as the indigenous in nature. And on the other hand, Gandhara art and sometime even the influence of Gandhara on Mathura. Mathura was indigenous. Even Amravati started from Satvahana period onwards. But even on Amravati, because the oceanic trade was already existing between South India or peninsular India and Roman Empire. So there can be some influence of Gandhara, and particularly in Mathura, later even on Mathura school, there can be some influence of Gandhara. Sorry. But mainly we'll talk about the Gandhara art. It's my suggestion. Then question number 3, will it be proper to consider the megaliths to represent a single homogeneous or contemporaneous culture? What kind of material life and cultural system is revealed in the megalithic cultures? Here I have to discuss with you, in fact, megalithic culture was a specific culture you people know. But this question is having two different parts. One part is the multiple character of megalithic culture. Even Upinder Singh has discussed this megalithic culture in the first one issue she has raised. The megalithic culture should not be taken as a single culture, rather it should be treated as a group of cultures, megalithic cultures. So she prefers to use the term cultures in place of culture. So megalithic cultures term you find here. That is correct. So you have to make this point clear. In fact, this culture expanded in a large span of time, starting from 1300 BC to 500 BC, or even early Christian, or even 1st century BC, you can say. And it expanded to a vast area earlier, you can say, and two stages in pre-iron phase and iron phase. For example, in Banda, Allahabad, etc., there in Balochistan, Sindh, etc., you will find they belong to the pre-iron phase. But in South India, you will come to know that is peninsular India that belong to iron phase. So whenever you are observing, up now the second one part is material life. In what way the megalithic culture was materially more rich than Chalcolithic, contemporary Chalcolithic culture? Because in Chalcolithic culture, you will find simply the use of copper. Use of copper in South India, not bronze, only copper. But in megalithic culture, you will find the use of copper, you will find the use of gold, silver, and iron. So there you will find even on the basis of the artisanal activities or industrial activities, you will find in megalithic culture, you can underline the better specialization in crafts. The craft development is in better position, and from Junapani in Maharashtra to Adi Channalur of Tamil Nadu, you will find the mushrooming of different crafts, the tank irrigation, paddy production, but still it could not be moved on the path of urbanization. It remained to be more or less a rural culture, because iron implements came into use, but most of the iron tools were being utilized in making war weapons. Very few number of tools were used as agrarian tools. So there may be, it is the one of the factors, the agrarian base was not so strong as to give support to an urban culture. Second one thing you can say, that is the culture. Means it is the different culture. The megalithic people were the very different people. They tried to develop their, and you can say deify their dead body in different way. Not worship, sorry, the deification is worship, it was not worship. But they tried to give a different status to the dead body. So they used to prefer build some memorial, memorial that could have existed for posterity for centuries. Means ki even after the death, they just try to glorify the death. They try to glorify the dead body, the people who passed away in such a manner. And sometime you will find in a single one grave, the new dead body from the same family or same kith and kin are being placed. So it means they were having you can say some sense of association with the members of family, some emotional attachment, some family bond, some bond of blood relationship. So this phenomena definitely reflects the existence of different culture. So in this way you can deal with the thing. Question number 3. How would you characterize the nature of Mauryan state on the basis of Kautilyan Arthashastra? In this question, my student, I am always suggesting you people that whenever you are dealing with the question in UPSC, so the text or the books are going to help you only to the limited scale. After that, the books are not helpful for you people. You will be surprised to know that if even in the UPSC exam hall or state services, the bundle of books of your preference are being allowed and you are given the freedom to go through the pages of the books before writing the answer, you yourself will be compelled to refuse to take the books. Why? It is due to the fact that the questions are so inferential in nature, the answer is not visible in the pages of the book. That is simply existing in your mind. You are taking the ideas from the books, doing intellectual fermentation, digesting the ideas, and then you can just produce your own thinking on the copy or answer set. Because here you can say in the books, every chapter is in 10,000 words, 15,000 words, and you have to write there only 20 in 200 words, 150 words. How was it possible? You are just concentrating your own ideas on the question. You are doing some sort of, you are filtering the book and taking the specific ideas which are being required in the question, a specific question or in single one question. So here, just observe here, you might have read a lot on Mauryan administration, centralized versus decentralized state. But this question demands simply from the prism of Arthashastra, what type of state is visible under Mauryas. So your thing is very clear. It is on the basis of Kautilyan Arthashastra you will come to underline that Mauryan state was a centralized state. So here you will make this point clear that the name of the long list of the officers, the level of centralization, the different administrative structure which have been mentioned in Arthashastra, so that is giving a picture of a centralized state of Mauryas. And you will know that Arthashastra reflected the truth and the reality of Gangetic basin, not reflecting the reality of the different parts of empire, while Mauryan empire was at least having its continental reach, subcontinental reach. So it means, Arthashastra is reflecting the truth of Ganga Valley. So at least in the nucleus region of the empire, the centralization was clearly visible and the centralization was at the better level or at the upper level. So in this way, this question is simply giving a hint towards centralization under Mauryas. And on the basis of Kautilyan Arthashastra, you have to prove it. How did the Varnashram Dharma manifest the increasing social complexity in the Gupta and post-Gupta period arising from social and economic developments? My friends, if you will allow, I can start the question. No problem at all. I am ready to start the question. But one problem is that some of you who may have appeared in the exam hall may be slightly, you can say, upset that I have not started the question in this manner. So my student, I am seeking pardon from you. There is no hard and fast rule. There is no, any iron jacket of the question. In this manner the question should start, in this manner the question should end. There should not be any specific rule. So I am avoiding the beginning, starting the question or ending the question. I am simply discussing what the ideas. In this question, how will the student find the direction? What is the direction of the question? The question is how did Varnashram Dharma manifest the increasing social complexity in the Gupta and post-Gupta, arising from social and economic developments? Actually, it is due to the fact that what you know as the fourfold Varna system. So fourfold Varna system means that society was divided into fourfold Varna system. But the fourfold Varna system were simply the ideal of society, not the reality. What is the reality? Reality was the caste system. Reality was the occupational groups. It is just like the thing, if society might have been static, it was not undergoing the change. So maybe this ideal of society, Varna system, could have existed at that time. But as society was undergoing a fast change, so this fourfold Varna system was simply the ideal of society. And particularly in post-Gupta, particularly in Gupta and post-Gupta period, for your kind information, Gupta and post-Gupta. In fact, there was the growing number of Varnasankaras. Why? Because the different occupational groups were mushrooming, and many of them were taking the form of the caste. It was the time there was the assimilation of tribal elements, the different occupational groups into society. Apart from that, the social condition of certain artisanal groups were declining at that time. So as their social condition declined, so they were also falling into the category of caste. The different occupational groups were falling into the category of caste. Due to the phenomena of land grants and expansion of agriculture in tribal regions, different tribal groups were joining the caste Varna divided society. So these groups could not be accommodated in society easily and in the easy manner. So there was the growing number of Varnasankaras, and Varnasankaras were transformed into caste. So fourfold Varna system was simply ideal of society, but reality was the caste system. And complexity was growing due to the growing number of caste. This is the demand of the question. Now here you find that the political and economic needs. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. The political and economic needs of rulers combined with the economic and status needs of the merchant class together provided the receptive cultural milieu in which Buddhist flourished comment. Buddhist नहीं, Buddhism होना चाहिए. That is misprinting. Buddhism flourished. The political and economic needs of rulers combined with economic status needs of the merchant class together provided the receptive cultural milieu in which Buddhism flourished comment. Just observe this question and try to find it out. Now my student, here we have to observe here. Just observe the question here. If you have to make a simple thing complex and to create complexity in the nature of question, please learn the lesson from the question setter here. The political and economic needs of the rulers. Firstly, try to recall. This is not associated with any specific period. This is just touching the all periods in ancient history, particularly from Maurya, post-Maurya to Gupta, post-Gupta, whatever you can. There is political and economic needs of the rulers. What is the political need of the rulers? To extend the influence. For example, in Maurya period, Ashoka tried to extend the influence of rulers through the policy of Dhamma. Through the policy of Dhamma, what was being propagated by Ashoka? That was Aryan culture. But in post-Ashoka age, in post-Maurya period, the same job was being done by land grants. land grants were given by Brahmins and Buddhist monks. They were working as the mouthpiece of the monarchy. So Brahmins and Buddhist monks became the carriers of the royal influence. Number one. Number two, the land grants used to give economic support. Here you will come to realize that the land grants used to give a fillip, give a boost to agrarian economy and agriculture. I have already told you, in fact, one of the motives and objectives of the land grants was when Brahmins and Buddhist monks were settled in the you can say outskirts and in the remote areas. So most of the grants were partially cultivated land and partially uncultivated land. So these grantees had to develop the uncultivated land and develop the barren land and convert them into agrarian land with the support of the tribal population. So the tribal population were tempted to join the Varna system by Brahmins, and tribal population was given the, you can say, education for leading a decent life by Buddhist monks. So two factors were working, political factor and economic factor. Economic factor means ki agriculture and political factor means ki the royal influence. So these were the two factors. Then this is going to combine with the economic and status needs of the merchants. What was the economic and status needs? So the merchant class was the economic needs of the merchant class was what? It was economic needs was of the merchant class was that the Buddhism was suited to the economic interest of the mercantile class, because Buddhism was talking in terms of legitimizing profit making and money lending, and profit making and money lending was the backbone of commercial activities. So that was beneficial for the merchant class. So merchant class gave support to Buddhism for economic reason and for status reason, because in Vedic model the Vaisyas were not enjoying the prestigious position. But under Buddhism, because Buddhism was not much given to the Varna division, so it was not going to degrade Vaisyas after Brahmins and Kshatriyas, etc. So Vaisyas feel more socially comfortable, and under Vedic religion slightly socially suffocated. So that's why they, even for the finding new status, they prefer to switch over to Buddhism. So these two factors works behind Buddhism. Here mercantile class was giving the larger donation to Buddhist monasteries, and kings were giving the larger land grants to Buddhist monasteries and the particular monk. So these two phenomena transformed the character of Buddhism itself from Hinduism to Mahayanism, means the great vehicle. So this point should be emphasized in this question. I think you people may understand this point. Point 4. Large number of land grants in hither to non-arable tracts invariably meant expansion of agriculture in early medieval India. Large number of land grants in hither to non-arable tracts invariably meant expansion of agriculture in early medieval India. How did the management of hydraulic resources of irrigation facilitate expansion of agriculture in this period? Just observe this question. The question is not difficult for you. This question is not difficult for you. Just observe this question. Actually, in post-Gupta period and early medieval age, this is a very pet question, because there is the expansion of agriculture. In expansion of agriculture, the land grant is always playing the role, because in land grants you can say a large tract of barren land was granted, so that had to be developed. But another phenomena is the development of agriculture, development of irrigation as well, because after all the agriculture was existing in rain-fed areas. Agriculture was existing in rain-fed areas, so it is very difficult to maintain it. So I'm now just observing this thing. So agriculture in the development of agriculture, apart from land grants, even irrigation played the role. Irrigation in the form of wells. There was the development of a new technique that was called arghatta. It was the specific technique of drawing water from the well. Apart from that, in different regions, there were the different local tools for irrigating the field. For example, in Karnataka, you may cite the example of 𝐾𝐨𝐻 system. 𝐾𝐨𝐻, it was some sort of reservoir, local reservoir. And in Rajasthan, there was a new system of drawing water from well that is called Wapich. It means कि there should be the stairs in the well, means कि सीढ़ी नुमा कुआं जिसको बोलते हो, stairs in the well, and you can draw the water directly. In Kashmir, there was the development of canal. Then you can cite the example of local self-government under Cholaj. Under Cholaj, you can say that the local self-government used to maintain a committee, Eripatti, in order to maintain the local reservoir. And all these factors might have given support to agriculture apart from land grants. And then particularly there was the development of horticulture, what you know as the Bagwani Kheti. So it means ki orchards, etc. So my point is that in this way you can answer the question. It is really a challenge to present all these things within the stipulated time and stipulated word limit, but you can. Now you're just moving to the questions of the second one part, the medieval part. What our local history, what you can say, the history of Chaupal, means ki the folk history, the people are, what is the hearsay in our society today, whether the Mughals are foreigners, indigenous, what are the Turks. Even the political leaders are just joining the debate and they are just making the things complicated in day-to-day life. But truth is that UPSC and academic history is different from the popular history. Academic history is not going to be influenced by what is moving on in Chaupal and in parliament and in assembly and in local assembly and in the the conference and in the form of mass mobilization. Here this academic historians and academic history is guided by simply professionalism. So whenever you will observe the question, you will find that this question is based on completely academic history, no difference between ancient and medieval at all. First question, as a short notes you find here. Discuss the different stages of Indian feudalism and analyze its impact on Indian political system. So just observe here the stage of Indian feudalism. Although this question belongs to early medieval age, not the Turkish period, or you can say not Delhi Sultanate. So in feudalism, you may have studied a lot of things, but here my suggestion is, in feudalism, if they are asking about the different stages, so you find that in India, particularly in India, there is the evolution of the phase of feudalism. First phase during Gupta period, when the land grantees were transferred even the administrative rights. And here you can see such grantees might have been powerful at local level, and particularly there was the rise of intermediaries, and these intermediaries used to exploit the peasants. So these feudal peasants, for example, in Askand Purana, Kam Sutra, Vasayana, you will just find the mention about the forced labor, what you know as begar, the bonded labor, etc. So one manifestation is the agrarian exploitation and the rise of the local patriarchs. Then the second stage appears from post-Gupta period onwards. Even the government officers were given the grants, and there was the scarcity of currencies, the money, the scarcity of coins. So this phenomena led to the further land grants, and even the administrative officers came to enjoy the same status. So this is the second stage. And as the third stage, you have to mention about the military grants. Such grants were particularly sanctioned by the dynasties like Pala, Pratiharaj, Rajputaj, etc. So these are the three stages. Then you have to, because 150 words, very limited scope, so it was going to influence the centralized structure, and it encouraged the decline of centralization because the king had to share power with the lords and the grantees. So it led to the natural decentralization of power and the weaker position of the king, and it might be a factor behind the failure of Indian state in fighting Turkish invasion. In this way, you can. Do you consider Sultan Iltutmish to be the real founder of Delhi Sultanate? Discuss. This question can be slightly a bit interesting because I have myself has imparted you that whenever there is a question of Iltutmish and Balban, who is the founder of Delhi Sultanate, so better to give priority to Balban, he was the real founder and Iltutmish was founder. But my friend, sometime, because I am not on the spot, so you people have to make your discretionary, use your discretionary power. Do you consider Sultan Iltutmish to be the real founder of Delhi Sultanate? Discuss. So here you have to start, yes, real founder in that sense, that Muhammad Ghori and Qutbuddin Aibak may lay the foundation of a Turkish state, but hardly had the time to consolidate this state and to give it a support of a progressive administrative structure. So this responsibility shifted on the head of Iltutmish, and Iltutmish did a lot for consolidation of Delhi Sultanate. But in this question, you have to give the hint. Later, whatever base work was done by Iltutmish, so this base work was simply, you can say, defaced during the period of his weak successors and the ambitious behavior of 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐿. So then, the further work was done by Balban, and the Balban tried to consolidate this power of the state again through breaking the power of 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐿. So in this way, you can make this point. Identify the different categories of Persian literature which emerged during the Delhi Sultanate. Of 150 words. So students will be here perturbed how to categorize the Persian literature. You can categorize Tawarikh, the historical text which were being compiled in the royal court, that is called Tawarikh. You will find a long list of Tawarikh, starting from Taj-ul-Masir of Hasan-i-Nizami. Then its sequel was Tarikh-e-Firozshahi of Barni, Tabqat-e-Nashiri of Minhaj-ul-Siraj. Its sequel was Tarikh-e-Firozshahi of Barni. That sequel was another Tarikh-e-Firozshahi by Shamse-Siraj Afif. Its sequel was Tarikh-e-Mubarak Shahi by Yahya bin Ahmad Sarhindi. So these are the list of Tawarikh, you can say. Then Malfujat. Malfujat was Sufi literature. For example, Khair-ul-Majalis, written by whom? Written by Hasan Sijji. Then Fawad-ul-Fuwad, written by a Sufi saint, not written by whom, that is the conversation of Hamid Qalandar, a Sufi saint. And third, Masnavi, it was a literary genre. And here you can cite the example of Amir Khusro. So in this way, you can categorize the literature. Examine the causes of Babur's success against the Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat. If I am posing the same question to you, at the first sight, your eyes fall on the technical aspect or technological aspect. For example, Babur just came to India with cannons, and particularly he tried to link the technique of cannon with a specific military strategy that is called Tulagma system. So Tulagma system combined with cannon could give the winning streak to Babur. This is the general perception. But my student, here you have to be a bit critical, although 150 words. That is technological factor you will simply mention, then political factor and organizational factor. In organizational factor, you have to give a hint. This was the weak, disorganized nature of Afghan state, because centrifugal forces are too much active. And you can cite the example of Daulat Khan Lodi, who was in rebellion against Ibrahim Lodi. So no consolidation among the nobles. And third one factor, no consolidation among Indian powers who could fight together against Babur. Mahana Sangha could fight against Babur separately in Battle of Khanwa, and finally he lost the battle. But he could not stand by Ibrahim Lodi, or Ibrahim Lodi could not win the confidence of Mahana Sangha. So this is the three factors you can mention. 5. Discuss the attitude of Chishti saints towards the state. How were the Suravardi saints different in their attitude towards the government? Very simple. You will here cite the example that the Sufi saints, the Chishti saints were different and more revered in India because they were leading the life of leading a very destitute life, and they preferred to live a very simple life, and they consciously kept themselves away from the ruling class. Once he got invitation from, and you can say from Alauddin Khalji. Alauddin Khalji was very eager to see him and to visit his Khanka. He simply refused to entertain Alauddin Khalji. He told, in my house I am having two rooms. In my house I am having two doors. If through one door Sultan will enter, through another door I will just come out from my house and I will just move away. So this was his perception. He was not ready to cooperate with Alauddin Khalji. But on the other hand, Bahauddin Zakaria, the founder of Suravardi, he always preferred to take the government job, and not simply him, even other Suravardi saints like Tabrizi and many others. So this was the basic difference between the approach of Sufi and Suravardi. I am now discuss the transformation of Sikh community from a Nirguna Bhakti sect into a political military organization. Only 3 factors, my student. If you have to discuss the transformation of Sikh community from a Nirguna Bhakti sect into a political military organization, so 3 factors you are supposed to mention. As the first factor, you have to mention about the egalitarian nature of Sikh sect. Egalitarian nature means equality among the followers, Sikh disciple. So a sense of equality had to be maintained among the followers. So that gave a sense of fellow feeling among them. Second one, it encouraged some idea of community. You can say some idea of community consciousness, or it gave some community consciousness. In what sense? It introduced the langar system, means the common kitchen, the public kitchen, the public feast. And second one, sangat. Sangat means they were singing together. They were just singing the bhajans, Shabad, that is together. So it was creating a sense of community among Sikhs. And unfortunately, when it came to fight against Mughals, and you can say it was persecuted by Mughals or Mughal Empire, so the sense of community and the sense of brotherhood developed into a military organization under whom? Under Hargobind first and then Guru Gobind Singh Khalsa. So in this way, there was the foundation of Sikh state, and that's why the Sikhism took a separate path. Then give your assessment of Bahlul Lodi relations with his nobility. Actually, this is the very important and interesting question. About Bahlul Lodi, it is said that he belonged to Afghan stock, and in Turkish model of government, there was the much scope for centralization. But such centralization was missing in Afghan structure. Bahlul Lodi was Afghan, and his dynasty was the first Afghan dynasty in India. At that time in India, according to Abbas Khan Sherwani, an Afghan historian, the number of Afghans in India was few and far between. So Bahlul Lodi could not develop a powerful state without the support of the Afghan population, because at that time the support from the common race was a common phenomenon of a medieval polity. So he made an appeal to Afghan of Roh. Roh means Peshawar. He come to India in larger number, and with your support I will make an empire, and you will be free from the poverty and destitute, the life of destitute. The sovereignty of Hindustan is mine, and all belong to all. So according to Abbas Khan Sherwani, then the Afghan rushed towards India just like the locust, means कि टिड्डी की तरह दौड़ पड़ी हिंदुस्तान में. But here you know that in Afghan polity there was not a scope for a powerful monarchy. So Bahlul Lodi was compelled to stick together with his nobles on carpet, and his nobles came to be known as Masnad-e-Ali. Masnad-e-Ali. His successor, Sikandar Lodi and Ibrahim Lodi, tried to develop the powerful monarchy, and even they tried to discipline the nobles. But the nobles revolted, and finally it led to the disintegration and decline of the empire. And Ibrahim Lodi had to lose in the Battle of Panipat in his fight against Babur. And not simply that, even Sher Shah was facing the same dilemma, although he tried to maintain the centralization to greater extent due to his uncommon talent, but his successor could not maintain the same, and finally even his empire can meet its end. Examine the basic features of Mughal tomb architecture with a special reference to Taj Mahal. My student, in this question you will not find any difficulty, because here you have to simply suppose to recall three monuments, or particularly the three important tombs belonging to Mughal. The three important tomb, one tomb is the tomb of Humayun, second one tomb is the tomb of Akbar, and third one Taj Mahal. Actually, the Mughal emperor has given a new stature to Mughal king, not simply in their life but even in their death. They were just given some sort of a divine stature, and this divine stature is visible in Humayun tomb. You find this was placed in 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬 style, that is called 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬 style, in the center of a garden, and there you will find that is a square shaped, and there on the high platform, it was on Hindustani pattern, Indian style, means ki Traviat style, and then the use of kiosks, that is called chhatri, then double dome, that is reflecting the height of the dome, double dome, and the slim minarets. These were the certain features. Particularly, this was giving a divine stature. Every tree, everything was just erected there in the manner as if someone is working as the guard, someone is the gatekeeper. So different gardens in different trees, the different trees were just placed in the manner that they are just protecting the whole tomb or monument. So in the whole monument you will find a muted sound, and muted sound is shh, maintain peace, here lies a great soul. So this is the message from Humayun tomb, and the more or less same is visible in Akbar's tomb, but in Akbar's tomb you will not find dome, 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬 style, a square shaped every, but without dome, in the gateway on minarets you find. You are moving to Taj Mahal. So Taj Mahal is supposed to be the climax of all the existing Mughal styles, high platform, 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬 style, double dome, kiosks, the decoration in the form of Pitra Dura, the double dome kiosks, 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬 style, etc. So it was, even the Humayun tomb was supposed to be the precursor of Taj. So it was giving a divine stature to Mughal kings and queens. In this way you have to prove this question in Mughal architecture, how was it going to. Then discuss the importance of Ikta system. How did it help in centralization of administration of the Delhi Sultanate? Here you can see they have asked you the question, importance of Ikta system. We should not spend our time while discussing about the features of Ikta system. Ikta system, normally you can say right from the time of Iltutmish onwards, in order to have the control of the vast areas, the sultans started to give a tract of land to his ambitious noble or to powerful noble, and the noble was supposed to, you can say, capture the land, and noble was supposed to rule in the particular region, collect the revenue while suppressing the local jamindars, and from this revenue they had to maintain their army, they had to meet their administrative expenditure, and what was the remaining amount, that was called fawajil. So this amount had to be transmitted to the royal treasury. So this is the system. Now what is the importance? The first importance is that it is with the support of Ikta system there was expansion of the Delhi Sultanate outside of Delhi and nearby region. Because Delhi and nearby region could have been placed under the control of Sultan, but in far off regions the control could have been maintained through Ikta system. Secondly, it became the tool for administrative centralization. It was much improvement on the existing feudal system in India because the post of the Ikta was not hereditary, it was transferable, and the Sultan was having the strong and better control over the muktis. Third one, when in different regions where the Ikta was established, so in Ikta headquarters there was the settlement of Muslim population. So there was the expansion of Muslim population in different parts of India through Ikta system. Fourth one, you can say Islamic culture could have been expanded to even the remote areas through Ikta system. And the fifth one, you can say the head of Ikta headquarters developed at the towns or urban centers. And seventh one, you can say the Ikta, the Mukti, could give patronage or patronize the local art and culture, the local artist, the local language. Now, second one part is how administration. So the first part you will just take the one administrative centralization I have told you, how the centralization of administration of Delhi Sultanate. So how did it work as the centralization of worked behind the centralization of Delhi Sultanate, but slightly will give a hint, but later when there was the decline in Ikta system, so it led to the decline of Delhi Sultanate as well. You can give a hint towards that. Why is the region of the Khaljis known as the Khalji Revolution? In my study material, I have given 5 points. 5 points. Khalji Revolution. Khalji Revolution means, in one sense, the Khalji was coming from the lower, you can say the lower level of Turks, or from the lower class of Turks. So Khalji Revolution was just a revolt of a lower class Turks against the high-born nobles, or you can say the high-born nobles on the aristocratic class. So it was the revolt of the lower elements in Turkish society against this aristocratic class. That's first one. Second one, in one sense it was a revolt against an Indian Muslim, against those who were looking for their pedigree towards Ghor and Ghazni region, means Central Asia. So it was in one sense the assertion of Indian Muslims and their identity. Third one, after Alauddin Khilji and Jalaluddin Khilji opened the gate for the royal appointment, the royal job, not only for non-Turks, but also for Indian Muslims and even Hindus. Alauddin Khilji declared kingship knows no kinship. And the fourth one, Khilji Kranti emphasized over the separation of religion from politics, Alauddin Khilji, in conversation of Qazi Mughisuddin. Point number 5th, the Khilji got power not with the support of nobles or ulemas, but with the support of the military might. So these 5 aspects, Khilji Revolution. Then the late 17th century Mughal India is considered to be a period of Jagedali Crisis discussed. Up here you can say the late 17th century Mughal India is considered to be a period of Jagedali Crisis. Here you can give a hint, because there is the term discuss, you can give a hint towards the phenomena during the second half of 19th century, the second half of 17th century, you will just make this point clear. In the second half of 17th century, the process of decline appears to be set in, and the Mughal Empire was just moving towards and drifting towards its decline or disintegration. One of the regions, although there might have been more than one region behind that, but one of the regions is being emphasized as Jagedali Crisis. And what is Jagedali Crisis? The Jagedali Crisis was the failure of Mughal Empire to maintain its Mansab and Jagir. The Mansab and Jagir system. Why and in what way? You can say the appointment of more Mansabdars than the available Jagirs. That is called the situation of Bejagiri. The second one, that due to the involvement of Mughal Empire into the Deccan, in Deccan particularly, the most of the Jagirs, or even in North India, most of the Jagirs were converted into Jore Talab Jagir. What is Jore Talab Jagir? Where the Jamindars turned to be recalcitrant, and they time and again used to make a revolt against the Mansabdars. So due to this phenomena, the Mansabdars and his officers could not collect the stipulated amount of tax from their respective Jagirs. So it led to the decline in their military capacity, and which further encouraged the Jamindars to rise in revolt. So there was, you can say, a very, a vicious cycle. Mansabdars fell into a vicious cycle. And if you are moving further, so during this critical juncture, as the number of Ser Hasil Jagir means from where the collection of revenue was very smooth, because Jamindars were not recalcitrant. So a very few Jagirs were the Ser Hasil Jagir. However, here a state did some sort of manipulation, and a state converted more and more Ser Hasil Jagir into Khalisa land, and more this Jore Talab Jagir was distributed among nobles. So that's why it affected the military capacity and finally even the strength and health of the Mughal Empire. So in this way, you have to make this point clear. Of the Chola rulers were not only mighty conquerors, efficient administrators, but also builders of fine temples. My student, in this question, although you have to concentrate over, basically the Chola's contribution in architecture, obviously. But here I will give you some suggestion. Slightly right over the Chola rulers were not only mighty conquerors. Mighty conquerors means in empire building, what was their success? When North India was being plagued, and the North India, you can say, was, continuously being invaded by Turkish invaders from northwest. So it was subjected to continuous invasions from the Turks. It was during this period, during this critical juncture, the Chola kings might have got the tremendous military success against the outside power. They could conquer Sri Lanka, they could conquer an empire in Southeast Asia, they could convert the Bay of Bengal into a Chola lake, and Cholan naval force could have even compelled the Sri Vijaya Empire to, to seek peace from the Chola emperor. So here you will compare, juxtapose the situation here, the invasion of Mahmud Ghazni, and here success of Raja I and Rajendra I. Secondly, the local self-government at upper level Cholan kings could have maintained the centralization, but at lower level, through having the control over the feudal lords, they could maintain the health of the local self-government, so administration. And in art and architecture, you will simply give the focus. It is a very well-known proverb about the Cholan monuments and the Cholan architecture. The Cholan architects and the Cholan builders could have conceived like a giant, but finished like a jeweler. So this was their success. So you will mention about then contribution of Raja I, means Birhadeshwara temple, their style. Then the second one, Gangai Chonpuram temple by Rajendra I. In this way, we will just mention about their contribution in builders. How many temples, even today you can say, the Dravida style of architecture reached up to its climax under Cholas, even the construction of Gopuram, etc. you will mention about. And then you find, discuss with relevant illustrations the relations between Akbar and Rajput estates. However, the question arises, why particularly the examiner has asked from you the relationship between Akbar and Rajput estates. So Akbar and Rajput estates, the relevant illustrations, because this relationship was, you can use the term qualitatively, not simply quantitatively, qualitatively different from the relationship with the Muslim kings and the local aristocrats or local nobles earlier. For example, you can say earlier the Muslim kings used to defeat Hindu kings and then just impose the taxes over them. So the Hindu kings or the Hindu nobles were groaning under the pressure of the Muslim kings, but they were always seeking for the opportunity when and how to make a revolt against them. So whenever they used to find the opportunity, so with the support of the local farmers and local peasants, they used to make a revolt against the government, the Muslim government. But Akbar changed the whole situation. Now Akbar made the part of the Hindu nobles as the part of Mughal aristocratic class. They were inducted into Mughal services and they were given the higher post. So now they became a major tool in empire building. This was the one. Second one, at that time, it was after all a feudal environment. So the best method for ensuring the loyalty of the Rajput nobles, Akbar devised a method to promote the matrimonial relationship with the Rajput family. But still he was conscious enough not to make this tool compulsory for all Rajput dynasties. Otherwise, some of them could make a point of objection and they could have just withdrawn from the relationship. So he didn't make it as compulsory tool. And third one, you can say he used to provide the very uncommon type of religious and cultural freedom to his Rajput wives. So these were the very, so it is due to this factor that now the arch enemy of the Muslim state and Muslim empire, against whom even Barni had once given the statement, so they were converted into the tool of empire building, and Akbar could have strengthened the Mughal empire, which could have continued for next 100 years. So in this way you can make this point clear. How far is it justified to consider the states like Bengal, Awadh and Hyderabad as successor states of the Mughal state? My students, whenever you will go through the book, it is a very common statement that Bengal, Awadh and Hyderabad were the successor states. So as they are supposed to, but this question is argumentative in nature and this is giving a hint you have not to agree with the statement in totality. Actually, they could have successor states if this succession could have been accepted by Mughal Empire itself. But after all, they separated from Mughal Empire against their will, against its will, and they could have carved out their own separate state out of their personal ambition. So the term successor state appears to be a byword for them. In fact, it was creating some sort of interruption in the Mughal Empire. They could have carved out their separate state. So they should not be taken the successor states on the ground. They created disruption in the Mughal Empire and then they could carve out their separate state. You will talk about Murshid Quli Khan, Shadat Khan in Awadh and in Hyderabad, how Mughal Emperor even sent his army to crush Nizam of Hyderabad, but Nizam of Hyderabad manipulated to resist against the Mughals and to make its own newly founded state survive. So it is through manipulation he could do. So in this way, and second one, the old Mughal administration, which were now decadent, which were rotten. So these rulers of and the old Mughal bureaucrats and the rulers of the new states were conscious enough not to continue with the rotten Mughal system. So they reformulated the Jagedali, appointed the new Jagirdars and the loyal Jagirdars. They crushed the recalcitrant Jamindars and appointed their own favorite Jamindars. So they reorganized their revenue system. They could have enhanced the rate of revenue and they could increase the income of the state and they could have maintained the strong army. So they made a major improvement even the existing rotten, decadent Mughal system. So it is very difficult to characterize them simply as the successor state. It is on this basis you can solve this question. My student up here is stopping here. And as the second paper, once again I will come to discuss with you people, second paper, 1 and 2 days later. Presently I have just put this discussion in Hindi and English, and everything I will continue in future in Hindi and English, because after all, both students from Hindi medium and English medium should equally be catered to. There should not be any sort of discrimination between the two. Thank you very much. I will just see you and then discuss with you the second one paper. Thank you.